Hello everyone. So in this session, I want us to perform user authentication and authorization. So what is user authentication and what is user authorization? So authentication is the verification of the user's identity. That is verifying that you are who you say you are. And then authorization is used to determine what actions can a user take. Can you be allowed to add or to do? Can you be allowed to fetch this and this? That's the purpose of authorization. So for you to do that, so first of all you need to install. I'll be using actually Flask JWT extended. Flask JWT for my authentication and authorization. So you first need to install it. So I'll go to installation. I'll just copy this one. ppnv install. Let me just cancel this. Clear. I'll say pip env install or ppnv install Flask JWT extended. As it continues to install it, you need to perform some configuration. So I'll close my user.py and then I'll go to the app.py. So you need to configure the JWT. So you need to import JWT manager. So that's the first thing that you need to import. So I'll say from Flask JWT Flask JWT extended import JWT manager, right? JWT manager from Flask JWT extended import JWT manager. Now and then you come just here and then you configure your JWT. So I'll start with initializing JWT with that's creating an instance of JWT manager, and then you pass your app, and then you now initialize it. So you come and say JWT .init, and then you pass your app that way. That is init. It should be init app, and then you pass your app here. So after doing this, now you can now configure some of the things. One of them is a secret key. App.config config, and then you pass here, and then that is JWT underscore a secret underscore key, and then you equate to any random. It should be actually randomized text, which you need to use at the random function in Python to ensure that it is always unique. And then I add another one, app.config. The time you need to the time your JWT token will take to expire. So I'll say JWT access underscore token and then expires, and then I'll say is equals to I'll say time delta. So time delta again you need to import from so from that time import time delta, and then again you continue time delta, and then you pass the number of hours, the number of minutes you want your token to expire. So for me I'll just pass hours. Hours is equals to 2. So my token will take 2 hours to expire. So this is the only configuration you need to add in your app.py. So JWT manager app, JWT.init app, all this. So this one we are now ready to perform authentication. So now I'll go now to my author.py. So remember the role of author.py is for login, logout, and then get the current user. So in this part we now need to create a login. So I'll change this one to be login function, and then the route should be login, and then inside here we need to get the data from the user. So that is username, that is email and password. So I'll be using email and password. So I'll say data is equals to request. So you also need to import request here, and then sorry for that, request dot get JSON get underscore JSON, that way. Request.get underscore JSON, and then I'll say email is equals to data email. Okay, sorry for that. Email that way. Same thing with password. Paste the password here. I'll say password. And then after getting this one, you first need to check if the user exists. So I'll say user is equals to user. So you also need to import the user. So I'll say from dot models, and then import. I need to import the user and also DB. So these two are very important. Sorry for that. So I'll say user dot query user dot query dot filter. That is filter by email is equals to email that we just got from the user here, and then you say dot first. So now we need to check if the user exists. So you say if user exists. So first of all, you need to check if the user exists, and also after checking if the user exists, you go ahead and also check the password, right? So I'll say and. So you also need to import what we call check password hash, so that it can check the raw password that you did pass, and also the password that is in database that is hashed, right? I'll say from workzec the security import check password hash, and then I'll copy the same, copy that, and then I'll say, so we check if the user exists, we now check the password. So check password hash will take it takes two arguments. So first one is the password from the database. So I'll say user, which is this user, user dot password, and then the second one is the password that the user did pass, which is this one. I'll copy that, and then I pass it here. So if the user exists and then the password matches, you now go ahead and log in. So so what you need to do is to create the access token, right? So you say access underscore token is equals to, you need to use what you call create access token, which is a function from JWT extended. So you just need to import it. So, and then this one will it takes an argument, which is identity is equals to now the ID of the user, which is user.id. So it will associate this token that is created here with a user ID, which is this user. And then so I'll just copy this access token, and then I will import it from JWT extended. I'll say from JWT extended. It should be actually Flask JWT extended. So I think I did ask here. Oh, Flask, yes, it's okay. Flask JWT extended import create access token. Alright, so after creating the access token successfully, we now return JSONify, and then inside the JSONify you pass the access token. You pass it as access token. So I'll say access underscore token, and then I'll pass a colon and then access token, which is this one, this access token. Otherwise, we pass an error here. Say error, and now user doesn't exist, and then or user doesn't exist, because this one checks if the user exists, and also or credentials are wrong. Alright, so because this one it will check if the user exists, and then this one will check if the password matches. So it's either the two. So it will give you this kind of error. So I think we are good to test our code. So we can go and test it. So let me restart my server to try to log in. Okay, so we are getting an error, no module views dot model. Oh, it is because I added dot models. It should be from models. Try again. So it's running, that one's okay. Let's now go ahead and test. So I'll go to Postman. I'll just replicate the add user, duplicate it, and then I'll rename this one to be login. Oh, it should be rename login. And then in my login, let me check again. It is login and then slash login. So I'll come here, I'll say slash login, and then of course it is post. Let me check. Oh, login again. I forgot to add a method. Methods is equals to post. So of course I'll add my post. Come back again. Post, that is login. Body. I add this data for my creation, user creation. So I'll just remove the username. Then I remain with email and password. Save this. Try to send it again. So successfully logged in. So you'll receive a token. So if you log in successfully, you'll receive a token. So this is a token that you'll be using for authorization. All right. So let me create now one example of authorization. So I'll go to auto.py, and then I'll create a new function. So I'll just replicate this one to avoid. So I'll create one for getting the current user, the user who is logged in, right? So just create it. So we use slash. I'll just call it current user. Of course, methods is get, but by default it is get. So it's not a must for me even to pass it. All right, and then just below our route, you need to add what we call JWT required, right? So JWT required, it ensures that the route is accessible only with a JWT token. So anytime you want to access the current user, you need to pass a token. So we have what we call at JWT required, which is also a function. So I need to import this from JWT extended this way, right? Now here I'll change this one from login to current user, user. Now just inside here, we need to get ID of the user who is logged in. So after you pass the access token here, we'll want now to get the ID of the current user is logged in. So I'll say current user ID is equals to, we have what we call, we have a function known as get JWT identity. So this one is used to get the ID that we created here. There's an ID identity. You can see this ID, this identity. So we are getting the user ID here. So so we go ahead. Let me import it. Get JWT identity. So now that we've gotten the ID of the user, we can now go ahead and fetch the user. All right. Now that we have the user ID, I'll say user is equals to user dot get dot query dot get, and then you pass the current user ID here. So I'll go ahead and now create a user data object, and then I'll say for us to be able to JSONify, by the way, that's the reason why we are creating this user data. So I'll say ID is equals to which is user dot ID, which is this user dot ID, comma email, and then email, which is user dot email, and then let me just replicate this one. Just press a comma and then replicate it. think we have email, username. Remember, you don't need to pass password, right? We also need to have is approved, all right? And also we have what? Is approved, and then we have is admin. These fields are very important, because you'll be using like is admin in the near future. So I think these are all that we need. Username, email, is admin, is approved. Okay, that one is okay. And then now after doing this, I'll now return JSONify, and then I'll just pass my data, which is user data. Remember, it's an object, so it's already made. So user data, and then I can pass a success message of 200. I mean success this 200, and then we are good to go. Right, so let's try now to get the current user. So I'll go back here, and then that is my postman. I'll just create a new one, new request, add request. So this one, I'll call it login, not login, I mean current, get current user. And then of course it is get, it will be slash current user, and then let me just check if my server is still running. Okay, now you also need to pass a token. So if you run this one without a token, you'll get missing authorization error. The reason is because we did pass at JWT required. So I'll go ahead to my login. I copy the token here, come to get current user, authorization, and then bear a token, and then I'll paste this one here. Then I save this, and then I send it. You can see it is now fetching the current user. So we've done the fetching of the current user successfully. If you don't pass the valid authentication token, you will not be able. So this the user now is logged in, and we are good to go. Now we now need to log out. Remember, we did login. We now also need to log out. So for you to be able to log out, let me just go back to my documentation. And then we have JWT revoking, that is a block list. Scroll up. So I'll be using the one for database, where we create a database table that will be storing the invalid or the revoked token. So I'll copy this one. This is a model. This is a class, I mean, that will add to our models. I'll go to my models. I just add way below here. Okay, so let me now run my migrations again. So I'll say Flask DB migrate -m create block list table, and then Flask DB upgrade. Right, so we are good to go. Let me just run my server again. You can now see we have a token block list. So after adding that in our models, that is token block list, we go back to our auth.py, and then let's now check here again. So we also need to have this callback, by the way. This callback is very important to check if the JWT exists anytime you use JWT required. So I'll copy this one, and then I will add it to my app.py just below here. Right, this one will be checking if the token is revoked. Right, so after doing that, now you go ahead and where was it? I want to look for the logout. I want the logout. Oh, yeah, it is the logout. Yeah, it is. Copy it, and then I'll go to my auth.py again. I will paste. So you can now see. I'll paste it. So you can see. We'll call this one. I'll just call it logout. The route. The route is logout method delete. We also need to import the data time, and then token block list. Of course, token block list we need to import it from the models. Token block list. Oh, sorry for that. I'll just call it token block list. And also we need the date time and then time zone, right? So that one will be used to save the time the token was revoked. So let me just come here and copy all of this, and then scroll up, paste it, and then we are good to go. All right, so we can test this. So I can change this one from a message to be just a simple success message, success, and then I'll call it logged out successfully, that way, and then I'll pass 200, and then I save this. So now you can try to log out. So I'll go to my login. Let me just come to get current user, or let me just create a new one. So let me rename this one first to be get current user, and then I'll create a new one. Create a new one in the user folder. Add request. Name. I'll call it logout, and then I come here. I'll just pass logout, log out. Of course, this one should be delete, and then you need to pass authorization token again. If you don't pass it, of course I have an error first. Sorry for that. App is not defined. Oh, sorry for that. So in our logout, you did see I did not change the app.route. It should be auth blueprint, right? It should be auth blueprint. So that one is okay. Let's try again to log out without the token. You can see you are actually required to pass the authentication token. So I'll come to my login, copy the same token again, and then I go log out. I pass authorization and then bearer token, and then I paste it here, save it, and then send it. So we are getting what? Oh, get JWT is not defined. All right. Again, I did not import it. Get JWT here. So this one is imported from Flask JWT extended. So I think let's test again. So you can see we are now logged out successfully. If you try again to log out, it will tell you the token has been revoked. If you go to get current user and then try again, it will tell you again the token has been revoked. If you try unless you go and log in again, you have a new token, copy it, you can now come and test in all this. So you can come here, select all, paste, send. The token is successful. Come here again, select, paste, and then you can log out, right? You can log out again, and then you'll be good to go. So I think that's all for this video. Let me see you in the next one.